Hi, my name's Ollie. I work for KERB, London's premier street food incubator and accelerator. We take very early stage businesses from an idea, give them training about how to run their business, and then hopefully in the future they'll get to open their own restaurant and run a sustainable business for 10 years. What I do at KERB is I train those people, so I help run workshops, we do consultancy, and then we run this thing called the incubator scheme, where we allow these people to basically learn on the job. So they trade and they learn how to run a business. Back in 2012 when KERB first launched, we were just running a lunchtime market at King's Cross. We had about 6 traders, but some of those traders went on to be, well, they were at the time, Pizza Pilgrims, Bleecker Burger, Bao, huge businesses now, but they were kind of like the exception of quite a few traders who didn't have the same business skills as those 3 did. So what we realized a few years into the game was that actually we want to make education important as part of KERB. So when you join, you learn how to run a business. So we teach you about bookkeeping, we teach you about HR, we teach you about sourcing, all these things, and like many more. Like, you got to run a business here. So that's what we realized is a kind of our USP compared to other street food organizations. And that's why I think a lot of people want to work with us, because they realize that we're supporting small businesses, not just giving them a place to trade, but actually supporting them to grow and become that next generation of Bleecker, Bao, Pizza Pilgrims that we talk about. We run workshops every quarter, and we give people a genuinely realistic idea of what it's going to be like to run a street food business. So we don't make it seem like it's a breeze. We give them the actual truth. One of our traders opened his talk saying, "Hello everyone, I'm about to crush your dreams." But he also said that when you're at a market and the sun's shining and you're selling a portion of food that you've designed, made, and cooked yourself to someone, and someone's paid money for it, and you've got a queue of people, there's nothing better in the world. So if you want to get into street food, be realistic that it's tough, but it can also be very rewarding. What people get wrong about street food is that it's not because it's being served from a gazebo or a truck that is the reason that people like it. It's because the quality is higher and the theatre is there, and you're actually getting it from the person who's making the food, who's designed that dish, runs the business, and so you're getting a much higher level of service. So because street food allows someone to start a business and start selling food and start selling a product without having too many overheads, there's a very low barrier to entry for the actual amount of money you need to start that business. So that's why we see a lot of the new trends coming through street food. KERB had London's first ever poke business. So that's everywhere now, but we allowed someone to start a poke business because it was just easy to do, whereas opening a restaurant, running a chain of poke restaurants is tough. For the future, I know everyone's keen to know what the next big trend is, but it's not going to be as simple as like plant-based or fried chicken or a gourmet burger. I think there's an interesting thing where we know the difference between a Neapolitan pizza and a Roman pizza, but when it comes to places like India or China or even Africa as a continent, we can't distinguish between the different local cuisines. So my prediction is that when we come to Indian food, we'll talk about food from Mumbai or Goa or Kerala or Hyderabad. And when it comes to China, we'll talk about Hunanese, Xi'an, Cantonese, which is the Chinese food that we've all grown up eating. So my prediction is that people are going to get more knowledgeable about their food, know where it comes from, and know the differences that exist in these huge, huge countries, when we can tell the difference between a bap from the south of England to a barm from Newcastle. So, how sustainable can you be as a street food business? The answer is pretty good, but not amazing, because you're serving to the public in the outside, and so you have to kind of, on the whole, use disposable packaging. But the amazing thing is that you are a very small business and you can have total control of your supply chain. You can go to the farm where you're buying the meat from. You can meet the cow that you're eventually going to put in your burger. You can touch it and then mince it. That is an amazing opportunity, and I think for a lot of people, having that control over every aspect of their business is brilliant. For example, Bleecker Burger, who sell hundreds and hundreds of burgers a day, they know where their buns are made, like where the flour comes from, where all the potatoes come from, and where all the meat comes from. Other than that, you don't really need to know that much about all the sourcing for a burger. But it's amazing that they can have that much control over the supply chain and genuinely keep the quality that high. Back in 2008, when the financial crisis happened, some people looked to that as the sort of origin of this boom of street food. I think we're going to see another one with coronavirus, actually. I think there's going to be a ton of people who might have been made redundant. Say they were a really good chef working in a chain that has now gone under. They might want to work for themselves and do their own business. You might see a ton of pizza businesses from Pizza Express closing. And there's also a massive opportunity for our traders as well. These high streets where they've had all these chains that have been propped up by a lot of private equity, the rents have to drop. And so that you could see a high street with a lot more independent businesses and a lot more variety. Coronavirus actually provides an opportunity for our traders as well. We, at the moment, charge 15% of a trader's turnover to be at our market, but when they go to a restaurant, they might have to pay 100 grand a year with no reference to whatever they're turning over. So I think you'll also see a lot more businesses being on turnover rent, so it'll be 15% of their turnover rather than 100 grand, and that will allow for hopefully a lot more variety on the high street.